Hello. Hi, everyone. It's Renee. I'm live here in our Somatic Freedom Heroes group. So much to share with you guys. So, I am pulling up another outlet here so I can make sure if I have any questions or comments that I can fully see because I could not see last time. So, those are here. Yay! I'm so excited. Hey, Laura! Ah! I'm so excited. Glad you're here. How are you? Let me know how your day's going. I know you can't make the whole thing, but I'm glad that you were able to come. For some, that's awesome. Yay! Okay. Got all my technology set up. It says we're having trouble playing the video. So I want to make sure everyone can hear me. Oh, good. I'm glad you're wonderful. I'm assuming you can hear me okay. If someone wants to let me know if they can hear me, that would be awesome, just so I'm not talking to myself. It's so good to be here. All right. Hey, Laura, since I know you're here, maybe in the comments let me know. Oh, it's good on your end. Okay, I see you. Yay. That's good. All right. Well, we are going to dive in and kind of get to it because I know everyone's got some busy lives. Ooh, hey, Olivia. Going in and out for you. Okay, let me check my Wi-Fi. Hi, Olivia. I don't know that we've fully met yet. I don't think so. It's nice to see you here. Let's see here. All right. Okay, I just switched it to some better Wi-Fi. If you guys just want to let me know, so if I'm talking and you can't hear me, make a comment and then I will. There's always a plan B, of course, with the technology, so I'll figure something else out. And I always like to say, too, if for any reason this cuts out and we lose connection with each other, I will come right back to this group and just do another live. It'll just be part 2. So just so you know, if that happens, I doubt it will happen, but you never know these days. All right. Melissa! Yay! Hi! Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. It's so good to see you. See your bubble. The little bubbles next to your name. Oh my gosh, say hi to your family. I love seeing all the pictures of you guys right now. It's really fun. Okay, so I want to just state as we begin, I'm so glad you guys are all here. If you are here live, please just say hello, and that way I can say hi to you and we can really connect with each other. And if you are brand new and we haven't met each other, please make sure you say hello so I can meet you. And then if you happen to be listening to the recording in the future, yeah, it's so good to see you too, Melissa. Then put like a hashtag replay or something so then I know that you were here and we can connect that way. So my intention, oh, I see more. Natalie, hi! Yay! I'm so happy to see you guys. So nice. So I have like 3 intentions, so I'm just gonna share all of them. So the first one is that I have some really important things I want to share around empowering you, me, all of us. When I share these messages, please know it's just as much for myself as it is for you, and you all fuel me so much. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up for yourself and for everyone and for me and for all of us. So there's that. So I have very specific things that I want to talk about, and we're going to get to those in just a moment. Crystal, yay! Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you. My other intention is to provide a space today that helps bring about a calibration for you. So, in essence, give you some really powerful energy, excitement, inspiration, motivation, whatever it is you want to call that. That is my intention for this. I really want to transmute that through the screen directly to you. Okay? So, wherever you are, if you're driving, be safe. Hi, Amy. Yay. I'm so glad to see you. Oh my gosh. It's really nice to be here with all of you. I know I keep saying that, but it really does feel nice. And that brings me to actually my third thing. So I'm going to be sharing a teaching and some ideas. And for those of you who heard a bit of my story, I apologize because I'm going to share a small bit of it. You may have already heard it, but for the sake of those who haven't heard it, you get to hear that. And I also want to be really upfront and share at the very end of this, I have an offer of something that I'm going to unveil to you. And if it feels aligned to stay for that, you can. And if you want to just hear the beginning of this and not the end, then that's okay. Just trust yourself that you get what you need. And, you know, with that said, I know, yay. It's nice to be here. You know, I think the big thing that I want to convey to all of you before I dive in is how important connection is right now. Like, I know that we're through screens and we're through technology, but I've come to learn, and I know you have in the past year and a half, a little bit more than that we actually can create some incredible connection through technology with each other. And so throughout this, if you have things that are exciting to you or questions or things that you resonate with, please jot them into the chat so I can really converse. And my big goal here is to connect with you. That's what I really want to do. And I'm going to be doing a lot more of these lives and perhaps evolving it down the line to some Zoom. But I like Facebook Live because I get to part of the reason is I get to see all your comments and I get to see your faces in the bubbles. And then I feel like I actually get to see you. Okay. So let's dive in. The first thing I want to talk about is a bit of an understanding. So for those of you who've been following me for a long time, or even in the last few years, you probably have seen that we have shifted and changed the name of this community and this group. You might also say I've changed the branding of my business. And so I just want to speak to that in a minute, and I want to talk about why and what that looks like. And part of the reason I also wanted to do this live is that I realized, this is kind of a celebration, is Jessica's on vacation, by the way. I know she would be here totally celebrating. If you guys don't know Jessica, she is like the backbone of us. You know, she is wears a lot of hats, we'll say. Like, you know, money manager, my business manager, customer service extraordinaire. She's a teacher, she's a guide, she is like just as obsessed with personal growth and evolution as I am. She's awesome. So if you don't know Jessica, make sure you get to know her along the way. But we're celebrating 12 years of being in this coaching business. Now, Jessica hasn't been with me for all of those, but she's been with me for more than half of it, which is pretty extraordinary. And I want to just say, like, part of those 12 years has been every single client. So sometimes those clients have worked with me for years. Some of them have been private clients. Some have been in group coaching. Some have been in cleanses with me. Some have worked with me for 1 hour session. All of it's been awesome. Oh, and some have come to a lot of the public speaking talks that I have given over those last 12 years in corporations or health food stores. You know, it's just fascinating to me how 12 years can go so quick, but it can also go so slow at times. And every single one of you, even if we're meeting for the very first time, I feel so connected and I love you so much. And this truly has been I'll put it this way. Coaching chose me. I didn't set out to become a life coach or a holistic nutrition coach or any of those titles. And I even have a hard time with the titles sometimes because I don't know what I call myself. And I'll get into that more as I share my story briefly. Briefly, for those of you who've already heard it, I apologize in advance. But ultimately, I love people. Like, that's always been a thing for me. Like, since I was a little girl, I was fascinated by people and their stories. And I'm pretty big on eye contact. Like, if somebody doesn't look me in the eye, and I'm not freaking any of you out if you didn't give me eye contact, it's okay. But like, I really love to see in somebody's soul and to have moments with them that have depth. And so anyway, I want to get into it. So 12 years ago, I was working in a more corporate kind of job, and I had been with this company, Cutco Knives, I will say that, for it was 9 years at the time. And I used to do sales, and I was a sales manager for them, and I traveled all over the world. That wasn't a planned thing. It was like a summer job turned into 9 years. And long story short is I learned a lot about myself in that 9 years, and a lot about myself that wasn't that awesome, you know. But the big thing when I say it wasn't that awesome is I saw myself struggle. I saw my addictive ways. I saw my sugar addictive ways. I numbed out a lot with partying and drinking. And, you know, for those of you who don't know me, like back in the day, I used to smoke cigarettes. And I remember running my office, and it was so high energy. And I had sometimes like 40 to 80 people that I was in charge of. And it was so much for my system, and I didn't know how to handle it. I wasn't prepared for all the things that were coming. And this, you know, was the lesson that I had to learn. So it was perfect. But in hindsight, I would sneak out and go to like the fast food restaurant and eat and eat and eat to kind of like numb and suppress the emotions. And then I would hide the, you know, damage, all the wrappers and everything, and in a trash can far away from my office. And I would come back and pretend like nothing happened. And so, you know, long story in a nutshell was that was a very powerful experience and time for me in my life, where it taught me how to show up. It taught me how to lead. It taught me a lot about sales. It taught me a lot about marketing. It mostly taught me how to run my own business. I mean, I had like sometimes 2 or 3 assistant managers. I was running this big business. I was traveling all around the world. Believe it or not, like Cutco Knives, it was actually a pretty big deal. And then I got promoted to be this regional manager, where I was in charge of building relationships with people and communicating with the academia at every university in 6 states. And my job was to go in and like repair broken relationships. And so I basically became like a master networker and communicator and relationship builder. And I was really good at it. I loved it, but it took so much from me ultimately, because I didn't know how to handle my emotions. And what I would do is I would numb out with a lot of things, and then I would become exhausted by it. And so after so much of this, I found out I was gonna have a baby. And then I ended up having a miscarriage. And lo and behold, I ended up getting pregnant again, and I had a baby. But in between that time, it was very pivotal for me. I realized that it was really important to me to have my own freedom. Not only in my way of running my life and my business, but I wanted to feel free in my body, because every single time I showed up to what I was doing, even though Cutco was my own business, but it felt very restrictive. And so I felt as though I was trapped in a cage and I didn't like it. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to feel free. And I started to learn that the more vulnerable I was, the more easy it was for me to feel free and connect with people. And vulnerability in the sense where I could share my stories, but from an empowering place. Because we all know we can share our stories, but we can also connect over like trauma and kind of bring each other down. I've done that. Or we can connect over powerful stories or things that show how we've grown or rode the roller coaster of life and came out the other side smiling. And so I decided to help empower myself. I'm just kind of checking in on your comments here. Oh my God, I just bought some Cutco knives from my daughter's friend. That's awesome, Crystal. Somebody asked me if I still sold them, and I do not. I mean, I probably could, but it's totally not my focus. So no, I do not. Better Health in Lansing. That's right, Laura. I remember that, by the way. Like, genuinely remember that. Wow. That's so crazy. Okay. Just blast from the past there in a brief pause. So where this led me to was deciding I'm going to train for a half marathon. And I ended up doing 2 of them, and that was pretty intense. But what it did, and I won't go into this a ton today, maybe on another live I do, but that taught me a lot about connecting with my body in a way different way than I ever had before. And any of you who've done any kind of working out, athleticism, you know what I'm talking about. And during those trainings of learning how to prepare my body to do any kind of half marathon, I birthed this idea of creating a practice, a coaching practice. Now, at that time, a lot of you may or may not know this, but I was already a certified life coach. I became a certified life coach when I was like 21, but I never, ever did it with the intention of becoming a coach. I actually did not even imagine at the time that I would become a coach. I just know when I look back that I think I was in so much pain from family stuff and my relationship with food and my body, and I was attracting all of these unhealthy relationships, and there was a lot of drama and chaos in my family, and I was also trying to finish college and run this Cutco business. It was just so much that I was like, I need some help. And the therapists weren't helping me. And I'm not saying therapists haven't helped me, so let me just clear that up because I've had tons of help from therapists. But at the time, that was the case. And so I decided to invest in a life coach. And that went on and went so well. And it was an amazing human being. And I decided I would become a certified coach because why not? So that I did. I spent a lot of money on it. I was very happy, but never thought I'd be a coach. And then after this training with the half marathon and really getting to know how to take care of my body, how to feed my body, how to take care of myself, and then getting all inspired with these ideas of how I could help people, I then enrolled in nutrition school, which is also a whole other story. So this birthed this idea of something called Love Yourself Naked. And at the time, I got so much flack for having the word naked in my business brand name. People did not like it. I got called all kinds of names. And, you know, granted, it's a kind of edgy name, but I also felt really aligned to it. Naked for me felt like this piece of vulnerability that I knew was so necessary for our healing and for our emotional self. It was like getting emotionally naked, stripping away all the crap that we say to ourselves and like really knowing who we are and loving ourselves deeply. And so I spent 12 years doing that. And basically, during 2020, like not too long ago, I was really sitting with those 12 years. And I realized something really crazy, that a system was built. And this is not new to anyone who's worked with me because they've been through this system. It's like, it's been there the whole time, even though they may not have seen it laid out in the beautiful way that I have it laid out now, and I'll be unveiling that over more and more time. But the somatic freedom system was birthed. And it just became so apparent to me that I needed to talk about this differently with people, like the next evolution of what I'm here to do. And I just want to say to all of you, you know, I actually learned this from my coach. She always says, evolution and growth over a lifetime. Evolution and growth over a lifetime. And what that reminds me to share with all of you today is that we are all evolving and growing together. No one is just like, I got it and I'm done. Like, I am growing and evolving in this moment with you. You're growing and evolving with me. We get to connect and share in this together. And it also takes away that looming perfectionism that's always staring us down with, you're not there yet, or you have to struggle to be successful, or you make so many mistakes and you're not good enough, or whatever that voice is that's in your head. And I'll get to a bit more of what that looked like for me. But it's important for you to know that when I talk about this somatic freedom, if I can today, I got to look at our time. I'll try to give you like a brief synopsis of what the steps are. And if I can't, because of time, I will do another live for you. So if you're interested and you want to hear, if you want to hear more, you can write it down. But ultimately, in 12 years, I learned to love myself naked. And I figured out the steps. And that's what the somatic freedom system is. And so to me, those are really the same thing. But I felt it was important to kind of clarify that. So for those of you who don't know, just hear that I've never been more courageous, never more sure, never more like aligned and excited and powerful about what I'm here to do in the world. And my goal today is to like infuse that sunshine through the screen and help you align with whatever you're here to do in the world. And I know that when I rise, you rise, and when you rise, I rise, and that the old belief that we used to have in our culture, which is still there and prevalent, but we're not going to fall for it anymore, that in order for somebody over here to rise, that this person has to sink down and fall. It's just not true. It's just not true. And it was always so, this makes me emotional. I didn't expect to get emotional. It was so, gonna breathe, hard for me to shine brightly. It was. This has probably been like the biggest thing for me in the past 12 years, is learning how to honor how bright I shined and then not dim my light when other people felt uncomfortable, or picking up on the fact that other people noticed I shined bright and then immediately like hiding and shutting down because it didn't feel good. So the last 12 years have taught me so much, and it's been the best gift because remember what I was saying before, growth and evolution over a lifetime. And so those 12 years, I was perfectly aligned to all these clients that were coming to me, amazing human being. I literally love every single client I've ever worked with. And I can honestly say that in those 12 years, like this is my most proud accomplishment, is I attract diverse, different people, and I can literally think of less than 5 people in all of those years who've been unhappy or unsatisfied out of hundreds, I don't even know how many people. Why is that? Because I feel that when we are aligned with what we're doing, the right people show up, and we're there to meet them. And then as we rise, more show up. Now, by the way, maybe you're not coaching, maybe you're not into that. That's okay. This is about self-leadership. This is about trusting yourself and knowing that whatever it is that you wanted, for me, it was an aligned coaching container, practice, coaching, relationship, connection with people. But maybe for you, it's a connection with your body. Maybe for you, it's a connection with your children or your partner. Maybe for you, it's a connection with your voice because you have something that you have needed to say and you're not saying it. Or maybe if you are saying it, you're not really speaking it like it needs to be spoken. Maybe it's the purpose that you want to step into or the business that you want to step into. Hi, Rachel. Yes. I'm just checking out, taking a second here. Laura, beautiful evolution in lifetime creates patience. Begin to realize we can't do it all overnight. Oh my gosh, so true. Never does it happen overnight, ever, ever, ever. But when we do this idea of growth and evolution over a lifetime, what it does is it reminds us that it's all working out. And what this does then is it leads us to our self-worth and our trust. By far, and I'm going to actually add in 3. Self-worth, trust, and faith. 3 by far of the biggest lessons I learned in these last 12 years. By far the most challenging. But also the most rewarding. hardest things to learn: faith, trust, and self-worth, but physically the most rewarding when we think about what that brings to our life. So let's come back to somatic freedom. And I think it's important to define this because, at least for me, when I think back to maybe 5 years ago, I didn't even know what the word somatic meant. It was like, what's somatic therapy? When I hired my first somatic therapist, I had no clue, but I was drawn to it. Here's why. I think it's important to share this, because I was aware at the time that my emotions were ruling my life in an unhealthy way. And I didn't know that my emotions could actually be my biggest superpower. I also didn't know that my nervous system was being like triggered and traumatized over and over and over again by so many things going on, and that I needed support and help with reconnecting with parts of my body that were kind of numbed out. And so somatic ultimately could mean body. We could call it that. Somatic is a connection, or we'll say, excuse me, relationship with our body. Somatic freedom in many senses is the optimal human state. So when I said before, love yourself naked, it's literally like love yourself all the way freaking down. Like, there's no one like you on this earth. There never will be. You got to figure out how to love yourself deeply, fully, completely. Wholeness, love yourself, trust yourself, appreciate yourself, accept yourself, value yourself, right? Those are the core tenets of loving yourself. Somatic freedom is an ultimate state, right? We are free in this physical body connected to our spiritual self. And how did I learn all this? I mean, I don't want to go take too much time today, but, basically addiction recovery was a huge element of my story. So, whether, and there's a lot of pieces here. This is probably another live, I guess, if you want to hear more about that, I am happy to share. But, food addiction, sugar addiction, work addiction. I used drugs and alcohol to numb out during a period of time. I felt like I was addicted to relationships and the drama and the chaos and shopping and wine. I mean, like, we could go on, and I did all kinds of things. And what I got to after 12-step programs and therapy, and this took me, a good 15 years of my life, I saw at the root of that big one was an intimacy issue. I had a fear of intimacy. I was scared to be intimate. Intimate as in connected with people. So the very thing that I learned that I loved the most, that I wanted the most, which was human connection. Remember, if you joined me at the beginning, I was talking about how I really love like eye contact with people. I love to like connect and be deep, and I like deep conversation, and I love intimacy. And it was also simultaneously the thing that I was scared of the most, which is a very common thing. The thing that we are most fearful of is usually the thing that is the thing we want the most, and is likely our superpower, the thing that we are here to do. It's crazy how that works. And through my life, I learned this through overspending and credit card debt and, feeling like I wasn't going to make it, basically financially. I learned through divorce and through enormous heartbreak in relationships and trauma bonded relationships. And one of the things that stuck out when I look at everything, so relationship with food, relationship with people, relationship with money, relationship with career, relationship with business, people, all the things, one common connected environment was how I was operating in my physical body when I was intimate with whatever the thing was. And so what that was doing is it was helping me see these emotions. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I first was told that I needed to look a little bit more deeply at my emotions, I had been trained to think that my emotions were bad. I thought that I was an emotional person, But I also then had a kind of a light bulb moment. And I remember, let me just kind of check in with the comments here. Let's see. Beautiful evolution. Oh, I saw that one. Thank you, Laura. Rachel, I have a hard time making eye contact when I talk about things that are dear to me. Oh my gosh. Yes, I totally relate to that one. And by the way, that there was part of where my practice began, ultimately. Because I started to see, this is actually what one of my therapists said to me years ago, and it was a light bulb moment. He said, Renee, when was the last time you let yourself be vulnerable and cry? And I realized that I had not really let myself cry for many, many years. And, you know, in our culture today, you would call that, you know, narcissism and um, all kinds of names in the book. And by the way, I was probably operating back then with a lot of selfishness and narcissism, so there was no doubt there. But something within me realized that my physical body, and this was through meditations and things that I was working on back then, I could see my physical body was holding on so tight that I was actually afraid to be honest and vulnerable and intimate with somebody in a conversation and let them see my vulnerability, let them see my emotions, because I feared that if they saw in me, one, they might see stuff and they might actually run away. They might abandon me. And so all those fears came up. And that if they also saw it deep inside, then I might be required to show up differently. And that was also scary for me. And so what I started to notice, and this is an important point for you guys tuning in, and I'm so glad you're here. I don't know if you want to write these things down or just keep them in here if they work for you. But I thought that if emotions rolled in, that life would basically come to a grinding halt. I believe that, and life mirrored it right back to me. So every single time things got crazy, I got emotional, life was stressful or chaotic or whatever was going on, I got emotional, and then things stopped, standstill. And I could hear, because I was doing all these coaching and therapy, I was doing a lot of things. So I could hear all the affirmations I wanted. I could read all the self-help books that I wanted. I could positively celebrate my wins. And I would be silent and be like under my breath, like, bullshit. Sorry if there's children around, sorry. But I thought it was bullcrap because it wasn't working for me. And I knew that I needed to make moves. I knew that I needed to take action. I knew I didn't want to be stuck anymore. I knew I wanted to change my life. I knew I wanted to grow. I wanted to evolve. All those things were there. But I would rise up, I would get emotional, and then I would self-sabotage. And it would be this over and over, like a ping pong match. I remember a good example of this is I had this partnership with a health food store. And I asked them if I could give a talk on sugar addiction. And they said yes, but they wanted to name the talk. And they wanted to name it something that I can't even remember what it was called. But they did not like the word addiction. They did not want it to be in the title. And I said to them, I don't want to do it if we don't call it blah, blah, blah sugar addiction, which again, I don't remember the exact title. But those words had to be in there. Why did they have to be in there? Is because I felt addicted to sugar. And when I worked with my hundreds of clients over the past 4 or 5 years prior to that, they would literally say to me, I feel like I'm addicted to sugar. Like, these are the words. So I show up at the health food store. By the way, they gave in. They let me call it, we'll call it breaking up with sugar addiction or something like that. I don't know. We expected like 40 people. 220 some people showed up to the health food store. 220, like they had to leave. Like I was getting started like 15 minutes before, but I'm like connecting, building rapport with the people in the health food store. People were in the aisles. People were everywhere. Showed up for this talk. You can tell how big of a deal sugar addiction was and is. The people who ran the store had to go out and they had to get a microphone for me so that way people could hear. It was crazy. And it was really powerful. This was a high for me in my business. And it was so much for me that I self-sabotaged after. I mean, things went okay, but they could have gone so much better. I could have impacted people more and more and more and more after that, but I just kind of crumbled. But here's the good that came from the crumble, because sometimes we look at when we self-sabotage and when we crumble, and we think of ourselves as bad, and then we shame ourselves, and we get guilty, and we call ourselves names, and that internal voice and struggle comes in. Here's what I learned. I had a huge realization from working with a lot of different incredible people, doctors, mentors, therapists, that I was a highly sensitive person, is what they called me back then. I didn't really know what that meant at the time. And honestly, I'm still figuring out what that meant or means. But what it meant is that I was very in tuned to a lot of the things going on around me. Smell, sound, other people's energy. And at first, I looked at this as a bad thing, which is a whole other topic. But what I want to do today is I want you to see that perhaps even if you're highly sensitive, by the way, I believe everyone's highly sensitive. I just think it's a sliding scale. Some are way more than others. So let's just establish that, like baseline. I think most humans are pretty sensitive people. But what I started to see is that my emotions were my superpower, that I was not a victim to them. And I also was not a victim to all these other people's energy, all the things that were loud and smelly or whatever it was that I was experiencing, that I actually could use my mind differently when I allowed my emotional mastery and my emotional intelligence to come into play. Which, by the way, I am still here developing. When I say mastery of emotions, I mean we are in mastery. We are forever students together on this journey. Emotional intelligence, though, what that is it's a deep level of intimacy. It's a deep level of communication. And so we're learning how to utilize the emotional mastery to give input to our mind. So sometimes we think that our human mind is what leads us. It's not the only thing leading you. And in fact, as I know from experience in my past dealing with addiction and being a recovering person, is that your mind can actually, you think it's the right thing, but it can actually be leading you astray because you still have trauma or old pain or addiction or something that you're dealing with. So we learn that we actually cannot trust our own mind all the time. So we come down to, I'm just checking my time here and I want to check in with you. Hey, Olivia, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, this is a big piece that moves into, loving that, Rachel. Yeah, energetics. So this is where I started to learn about feeling in alignment with something. And I also learned how to stay in my own lane. So I learned that it can be a game changer in our life when we get really clear on the thing that lights us up, the thing that we need to be looking at within ourselves. Because everyone is out there who's going to want to tell us that you need to do this one thing because it's going to help everything. And I'll give you an example. So in my business in the last 12 years, when I first started it, everyone was like, oh, you're a holistic nutrition practitioner. You need to do weight loss. And I never aligned with selling the stereotypical kind of weight loss that our culture has been feeding us for God knows how long. And then it was like, oh, this next thing, and then this next thing, and this next thing, and do this. And I was so confused because I just knew I wanted to help people. And then I started to look at the people who were coming to me. And I would have people who came to me and they would say, oh my gosh, Renee, like your superpower is relationships. You are so, like, and truly, I don't even know where that comes from. It just flows through me. I have worked with so many couples. I don't do that currently, just like a disclaimer. But I have a thing, I'm good with the relationship coaching. Holistic nutrition, there's a bit of, intuition that comes through. I understand nutrition. I love nutrition and health and wellness and holistic healing, like that's just there. And then there's self-leadership and loving yourself, and we could go on. And I'm an entrepreneur for a long time, so there's business, and I started to kind of lose it because I was like, okay, what the heck? I don't even know how do I pick something? And lo and behold, one of my dear coaches, she said to me, Renee, you don't have to pick. You can be free. Somatic freedom. You can be free to meet people where they are, but guide them on this system that you have, right? And one of my clients, her name is Jackie. She's so amazing, really inspiring. She is a coach, not in the traditional sense, but she helps people. And she said about working through this system, it's called Love Yourself Naked / Somatic Freedom System. She said it was about making your own rules, and that you could fit the system into whatever it is that you needed in your life at that time. And that brings me to the first point of what the somatic freedom system is. It's clarity, ultimately. I mean, there's a big fancy name for it, which I get to another time, but it's ultimately about getting clarity and a reconnection with your foundation. What is your foundation? Your foundation is your body, your physical body. So sometimes we don't realize it, but our physical body is where the answers live. And so we come into where's the stuck point that we are in our physical body. And some of us know immediately. Some of us do not know at all. Some of us have inklings of ideas, and then there's everything in between. So when I first went to my very first somatic therapist, I remember he was like, okay, so blah, 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 you're doing this, feeling this. Renee, where do you feel that in your body? And I just looked at him with a blank stare. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what you mean. I was completely confused. I was like, in my body? I couldn't feel anything in my body. At that time, I was very disconnected from my body. I thought I was connected. I didn't even know what he was talking about. And that's okay. That's okay. But the point is that if we can establish that we're that disconnected, then we have something to work with, because we know now, what's the first step. The first step, by the way, is usually our hands, because we can feel sensation in those quicker than anything else. So if you want to begin, you can just start by experiencing that. The second thing, though, is coming down to understanding that healing comes from taking action. And we automatically think, because our culture has mostly ingrained us to do so, that action is external, that it comes from the shiny new diet plan or the shiny new workout or whatever. And I'm not saying those things don't help us and support us, because certainly if you've been listening to me this whole time, you guys are frozen. Olivia says I'm frozen. Good talk. Oh, I'm so sorry I'm frozen. Is anyone else hearing me, or should I reconnect here? Anyone else want to jump in and let me know if they can hear me in the comments? Otherwise, I may reconnect. You hear me, Rachel? Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, I'm sorry about that, Olivia. Well, hopefully, maybe you can come back and catch the replay. Thank you, Amy. Okay. Hi, Tracy. So good to see you here. I'm glad you can hear me. Okay, so healing comes from taking spontaneous action. If you've been listening so far, you hear that I have gotten a ton of help externally in my life. But what I want to remind everybody of is that external help should always be mirroring us back to ourselves, back to leadership within ourselves. And so, if we're stuck and doing the same old thing, the same old way for all of this time, it's going to be beyond frustrating. And if my astrological friends, I don't know lots and lots about astrology, but if they're any form of correct right now, they're telling me that this particular time is one of the most frustrating times if you're still doing the same old thing and not getting results. So it's so important for us to be taking action, but doing it differently. And so what I want to inspire you to do today, and not just inspire you, but really help kind of give you the opportunity to open up and see, is that we can feel all kinds of emotions and access an emotional intelligence in ourselves by reconnecting with our body, reconnecting with feelings that we may not have explored in a really long time. And it can make a profound change in our life. If I look back at every single person that I've ever coached or worked with, and every bit of work I've ever done, or any coach who's ever helped me, this core thing of emotional intelligence and emotional mastery and intimacy, communication, like this realm here, this has been pivotal to everything. To people who want to make millions and millions of dollars, to people who want to have the most incredible, outstanding relationship or romantic partnership, to people who want to lose a lot of weight, or people who want to have healing and recovery with their body and body image, to starting a new career, whatever it is. These are the like core tenets that without them, we will not be able to move to the next space for ourselves. And what comes up for us sometimes old stuck belief systems. So I just want to share. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Melissa. Hey, Gabriella. So good to see you. Totally miss your energy and smile sometimes. Oh my gosh. Okay. I just want to chat with all of you today. It feels really good. So coming back to beliefs, I'm going to share with you a belief. And then I know I got to kind of get wrapped up here, but I guess I just keep talking. That's just how it works sometimes. So old belief for me was that, I mentioned this one earlier, but I'm going to share it again, that someone else needs to fall in order for me to rise. That was a horrible old belief that I was stuck in for many years. And it wasn't just that, but it was like if I saw other people who were successful or people who were doing things that I wanted to do, I had a lot of emotions and jealousy and envy that creeped in. And I didn't know how to deal with that. And that was a big one for me. That shifted everything. And that happened around the time I started my business. So I want to be able to teach you things, not just in your mind, but I want you to feel them in your body. I want you to feel them in your heart. There's old energy that we're stuck in. Another one, a belief, was that I had to push. This is a very masculine way of doing things. I had to control things, that I had to be constantly like pushing, driving, controlling, restricting. This did not serve me. In fact, it doesn't serve my clients. And there's a place for masculine energy. It's like the beautiful strategy, ultimately, the backbone that holds presence and space for us so we can do a lot of beautiful things. But ultimately, in order for us to feel free and to be able to evolve ourselves and rise accordingly, we must invite in the feminine, which is a much more experiential version of emotional mastery. It's a feeling system combined with the masculinity. And I won't go into crazy detail on that because that could be a long tangent for me, but I do want to tell you what it taught me specifically is how to move from fixing energy and like finding the problem and like what's the solution into more of a feeling and flow kind of energy. It was more of an empowering energy where I could step into leading myself because I was so in touch with what I was feeling. So it was like, do I want to launch this program? No. But the no didn't come from fear, unhealthy trauma stuff. The no came from, it was just clear, not the time. 5 weeks go by. Do I want to launch this program? Yes, I do. Excitement, fear, starting to feel all the things. Excitement and fear are actually two emotional frequencies that are very similar in energy. But we can be in fear and we can go into a trauma, and then we can also be in fear and we can go into excitement. And there's a difference. And so when we use somatic freedom, the system that I've been talking about, it helps us rewire our nervous system. It helps us transform seemingly magically sometimes right before our very eyes. And it reminds me of the other belief that I used to hold, that I had to struggle in order to be successful. This was probably one of the biggest and the most challenging beliefs that I had to get over in order to be where I am today. It was unimaginable at the time for me to fathom being successful without going through the struggle. And I think part of it was because I liked growing so much and I did all of this personal growth and personal development work that I actually started to believe that it had to be hard in order for me to get to the other side. And so when I finally broke through that belief and I started to see that it could actually be incredible and exciting and fun, not to say it wouldn't be challenging at times, not to say I wouldn't be triggered in moments, but that I didn't have to be burnt out and overwhelmed and pushing and driving. And I could believe, like I said before, my coach taught me this phrase, one of my coaches, evolution and growth over a lifetime. That we can be of the highest service the entire time in our life. So if you have a child and you met them where you were at when they were born, and now you have evolved and they're like 15 and you're like, oh my God, I wish I knew this stuff when there's evolution and growth over a lifetime. You were able to meet them right where you were at the time, and it was perfect and it was beautiful. And now that they are where they are and you are where you are, now you get to meet them here. And you get to teach them this beautiful gift to celebrate and to trust and to have faith, and that it gets better and better and better and better. And you can have more and more and more, and that you don't have to struggle. You don't have to struggle. The other piece of that belief system that I want to hit on, I just say in my notes here, and I don't want to forget to say this. It was almost like the other side of the old belief of I had to struggle to be successful, was I didn't also believe that I was worthy of receiving the good on a consistent basis. I didn't believe that. And so I had to give that up. And learning to receive is part of this practice of emotional mastery. It's part of the intelligence. So the emotional intelligence means that things can be chaotic, things can be emotional, things can be, whatever, riding the wave of life, because we all have these things, right? It means that all of that can happen and that we do not have to come to a standstill. That we can then grab our intelligence, our emotional intelligence, and we can combine this with our mind, and we can actually live up to where we need to go, and we can keep showing up and keep showing up and keep showing up. And then it also, that intelligence, that mastery allows us to see when it's time to slow down, when it's time to speed up, when it's time to flow, when it's time to push a little harder on the gas, and allows us to be excited with the fear. And I want that for you. And I also want you to be able to get in touch with your power. Because in our culture, this is what I have learned, power has gotten a bad rap. But I'm talking about the power that's magnetizing. Magnetizing power. When you're really in your power and you're aligned, you literally attract things to you very quickly. Not because of any like magic that she has or he has that makes them better than you. No. This is available to all of us. All of us. It's just about you becoming in alignment. And how do you become in alignment? Is you get clear with all the emotions, and you get clear where the stuck points are, and you get clear where's the stuff that I'm kind of stuffing down and numbing out that I haven't looked at yet. Somebody said to me the other day, and I've heard this before, but I forgot, and it was just like a nice realization to hear. They said that money doesn't change you. It just magnifies whoever you are and whatever you're doing. And I really like that. But here's the thing. If money comes in to somebody who's completely numbed out emotionally, it will just magnetize that energy. It'll magnetize that kind of power. But if money comes in to people who have emotional mastery, emotional intelligence, powerful communication, and intimacy, and health, and vibrancy, and connection with people, then it magnetizes that. That was beautiful for me to just sit with And when we see the way of the world, it was even more inspiring and empowering that we all have access to that. So the last thing I want to share with you before I wrap up, I actually have two things. One, I'm going to talk about time briefly. And then after that, I'm going to share with you, I have an offering, something called Empowered You. And some of you might want to stick around and hear about that. And if you do, awesome. And if it's not for you, that's okay too. But I do want to share with you that those are the last two things, because I know I'm pretty close to my time. So I just wanted to check in with all of us where we're at. And I'm so glad you're all here. So, time, really important as we move through our practice of taking our power back, that we look at our relationship with time. And this is actually one of the modules in my offering that I'm going to share, because too often we're attached to time. And I don't want to go into all of it, but when I say I have a lot of things that I've learned in the last 12 years, this might be one of the biggest ones. I've saved the best for last. So when I tell you we must learn not to be attached to time, I know that's easier said than done. But what I've figured out is a way for us to shift our relationship to time in a much more efficient way. And I'm so excited to be able to share this with people because it took me so long. It took me so long. And I'm okay with that because I guess it makes me a good teacher now. But I just wish that I could have learned that one a little bit faster sometimes. The problem is, though, with time, is that we want it now. But Renee, I want to lose the weight now. Renee, I want the relationship now. I need the money now. I'm struggling financially. I need the money right now. I want to see results now. We want the thing now. Isn't this the way life is, especially in a world where we pretty much have access to everything like quickly and right now? It just magnifies it even more. And I get that sometimes the struggles feel so overpowering and overbearing for us that it's really hard not to see and worry about getting it now. But I'm going to tell you something, and this is what I've learned, is you will not come into energetic alignment with the thing you want ever if you're attached to needing it now. We're not in charge of the timeline. So we need to be taking action on one hand right now, because this is the healing, spontaneous action, taking action. This is what creates healing. This is what creates momentum. But we cannot be taking action while attached to the timeline of when it happens. So that's the other side of this. And so what we need to learn is how to empower ourselves. How to empower ourselves not to go there in our head. The part of us that's going to tell us, you're not there yet. The part of us that says, you're still stuck. Or when we look in the mirror and we don't like what we see, or we sit home alone and we don't have somebody to share it with, or when we keep working and working and working to grow a business and we're not seeing the results, or we're staring at our negative bank account, or whatever that is for whomever, we have to be able to not go there in our head. Because as soon as you make it about the time, you actually disconnect yourself from the quantum field and you will not align with the thing that you want. You'll align with the thing that you don't want. And the only way to release time is to get intimate with our emotions, which is the whole reason I am inspired to talk to you about the next thing I'm going to talk to you about. So, for those of you who want to stick around, I'm going to share with you an offer that I have that I'm so freaking excited. And it's not like necessarily a new thing, especially if you've worked with me before, in a group program anyway. But it's new in the way that I'm delivering it. And so I'm excited about that. And if you wanted to be here for the beginning part of this teaching and you need to go, that's cool. But if you want to stick around and hear this, then I'd love to have you. And I won't be too long. I'm going to be sharing more about this in the days to come. So this is actually a pretty short synopsis. So anyway, what I've done is I've created a 10-day coaching course, just 10 days. I've actually not done something like this ever before where it's just 10 days. and it's called Empower You. The Empower has a capital EM for emotional mastery. And I think it's obvious if you've been tuning in with me. Melissa, that's beautiful. Thank you. If you've been tuning in so far, it's probably not a shocker around why it's called Empower You and around emotional mastery. But the intention of this course is to empower you with intimacy and world-class communication with yourself. It's to empower you to align with the thing, your thing. It's to teach you how to teach yourself. Because I cannot teach you how to emotionally master your own emotions, but I can be a mirror to you on the strategy in which that you need to go about doing it. And I know that works. I've been doing that for 12 years with my clients in some way, shape, or form. I've been doing it with myself. But what's empower you is that you get to empower yourself. And remember, of course, evolution and growth over the lifetime. So instead of eating the thing, you sit with the feeling. Instead of saying the thing in anger, you feel the anger and you move with it. Instead of pushing and forcing out of fear, you sit with the fear and you understand how to move that into excitement and so much more. And so this is a really huge deal. By the way, for those of you who are on the call, who are in my Somatic Freedom System / Love Yourself Naked group, you get this like automatically. So just so you know in advance. But I wanted to create something where people could come in and I could hold space for you and guide you through 10 days very powerfully and help you calibrate into this lovely energy. So it's 10 days. Normally I coach people for 5 months, sometimes a year, and then private coaching. So this is kind of a rare and unique thing. It's a piece of this is already in my group program, but I sat last year, basically, I channeled like so much information about this, and I have been keeping it. And I kept wanting to share it, and I have talked about it, but then I would pull, it didn't feel like the right time. And now I know it's the time. Now I know it's the time. So this is gonna be one of those rare controlled environments where you get to experience feeling in a really safe container, in an intimate group with other people. And it's going to touch on the core teachings of the Somatic Freedom System. So you're going to get a bit of that. And it's going to help you empower yourself to trust yourself and give you the opportunity to align. So if this feels right for you, I'm going to share what the investment is in a moment today. The investment actually goes up tomorrow. So there's like a pre-sale right now. And if this feels in alignment for you, then do it. If this does not feel in alignment with you, then sit with it. The biggest goal I have for you in the program, out of the program, is to trust yourself. And you know. So I want to empower you to make the decision that's right for you. So the 10-day course is $777, and the price goes up by midnight tonight. And if you're listening to the recording of this, it goes up at midnight on June 30th. And the price feels really clear. It feels really aligned. The 10-day program, I am going to over deliver. Like, I cannot wait to be in the container with all of you. And again, I just want to say again, for those of you who didn't catch this, if you are in my group program currently, you automatically get this. So you'll come on in. And I'm going to be sharing so much more details about this in the days to come. So if you are one of those people who are like, that sounds interesting, but I need more information, that's okay. That's okay. I'll be sharing more information, but just know that the price will be a little bit higher. And I'll wrap up on saying this, that the goals of the coaching container, I feel like I really hit on those, but I really want you to know this more than anything else, that I want to infuse your life with an energy. That is what my intention is. I want you to feel so powerful that you go step into whatever it is that you need to step into in your life. It's time for us all to rise. And I know that we are doing it together. And if it feels good, I'm going to put the link in below, so in the comments below. And this will be for the people who are the rule breakers and the groundbreakers and the creatives and the people who have always felt different but knew that they had something really important to say. The ones that feel like this has been their whole life and now they have something really powerful to do, but they don't know exactly what it is or how to do it. This is for you. This is for you and for me and for all of us. We're all in this together. All right, I am so grateful to have had this time. I'm just looking at all of you here. I went just over an hour. My goal was to be just at an hour, so I'm not doing too bad. And for those of you who are, I'm just seeing you, like Tracy for the very first time, and Olivia, and some of you I've known for a really long time, clients, friends. I love you all so deeply. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, let me know. Send me a direct message, whatever works for you. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Mwah. Bye, everybody.